The Golden State Warriors are currently 8-10 on the season after losing a very embarrassing game to the Sacramento Kings where they blew a 24-point first half lead. They suck right now. And ultimately, while there are areas that I can see this team improving and definitely don't think they're going to be this bad throughout the entire season, at the end of the day, I am just not seeing a championship contender here with the pieces that are currently on this roster. And while some have doubted the Warriors a little bit too early, especially before that 2021 championship, even me to some extent, I think now it's actually the right time to say that the Golden State Warriors dynasty is over, at least as we know it. Before I get into today's video, I want to talk about our sponsor, Factor. If you're like me, aka a 20-something who does just a terrible job at taking care of himself, you probably have a fairly erratic diet. Generally speaking, food kind of comes into my life as it does, and I don't really plan for it, at least not as much as I should. And this, of course, makes eating consistently and eating healthy rather difficult. I've been trying to stop being such a food goblin and actually be an adult for once, and luckily Factor has been a great help in that. Factor makes your nutrition goals easy by delivering fresh, never frozen meals right to your door. I know the health benefits are what might stand out to you initially, but eating on a consistent schedule is also a huge help for your body as well. And if you have a hectic schedule, being able to prepare something quickly like you can with Factor really helps. Only 2 minutes in the microwave and your meal is ready. Another thing that's great with Factor is it's very customizable. You can specify options to your dietary restrictions. There are vegan options, calorie smart options if you're trying to lose weight, keto options if you're avoiding carbs. And for me, I always go with Protein Plus because you gotta get them gains. Over the last few months, thanks to Factor, I've been able to stay on top of my meal plan. I normally find it hard to actually prepare my meals, which resulted in me picking fast options that were not necessarily the healthiest ones, and especially not the cheapest ones. But now, because of Factor, when I do not have time to prepare something, I can get the speed paired with the nutrition as well as a great taste. Head to factor75.com or use the link in the description and use code RUSTYBUCKETS50 for 50% off of your first box. Again, that is code RUSTYBUCKETS50 for 50% off of your first box. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring this video. So the first thing I want to be clear on from the jump here is that quite literally none of this is Stephen Curry's fault. In fact, pretty much the entirety of this video, what I'm focusing on is how much the Warriors as a whole are failing Stephen Curry right now. He has been awesome this season, putting up his typical Stephen Curry numbers, and I think it'd be fairly ridiculous to be really critical of him even a little bit. Mind you, he's doing this at the age of 35. But his counterparts, the other two players of the original Big Three, yeah, they ain't it anymore. Draymond Green has become more and more of a problem for the Warriors as the years have gone on, all while the strengths that he brought to the game have been slipping. You could excuse a lot of Draymond's antics, like choking Rudy Gobert or even punching his own teammate in the face, you know, when he was actually doing good basketball things on the other end to at least justify that bullshit. Like when he's playing the best defense you can ask out of really any individual player, then maybe you can punch a teammate here or there. However, if you're going to not be the lockdown defensive anchor that he has been in the past, it's a different story. Draymond's defense is not what it used to be, and as a result, as he is the anchor of this team's defense, well, the team's defense as a whole does not look very good. They are currently ranked 17th in defensive rating, same as they were last year, and overall, the Warriors' defensive dominance that has been a huge staple in their success in years past just is completely gone. Now, that isn't entirely on Draymond Green, of course. There are other faults there, but generally speaking, the Warriors' defense goes as Draymond goes on that end. When they won their most recent championship, Draymond had easily his best defensive season in recent memory. He probably would have won Defensive Player of the Year that season had he not missed a decent stretch of games. And while he was playing at that level, the Golden State Warriors were the #1 defense in the NBA, which was a huge reason why they won the title, and a huge reason why they've won titles in the past. Everyone knows the Warriors for Steph and Clay and the three-point shooting specifically because that's the area where they most foundationally changed the game. However, defense has been a huge reason for their success this whole time, and Draymond's contributions to that defense. However, he's not contributing like that anymore. Not even close. Now, you can make up for a average to slightly below average defense and still be at least vaguely in the contender category if you at least have a kick-ass offense, something that the Golden State Warriors have also done quite well in the past. However, that has become increasingly difficult for them. I think a big reason for this is they just do not have the firepower to keep up with modern NBA pace, modern NBA scoring. Having Stephen Curry put up 30 a game alone just is not enough to have a top offense in the NBA anymore. Most of the league's best offenses either have a couple of 20-plus point scorers, or they have a ton of positive offensive players, guys who can score at any given moment and fit well within a system. The Warriors somehow don't have either of those options. Draymond's offense has gotten more and more dire as the years have gone on. Obviously, he had a three ball when he first broke out, and that has slowly slipped, but the Warriors at least had the other offensive pieces, especially obviously when Kevin Durant was there, to make up for how much of an offensive zero he could be. He also would make up with this with his playmaking. However, now that Chris Paul is here, that playmaking feels a little bit redundant, and it's like, I'd rather just have somebody that can actually hit a fucking open three rather than someone who's just gonna pass it to Steph when a lot of people can just pass it to Steph. Now, as for some other reasons the offense isn't working, well, look no further than Klay Thompson. This guy stinks right now, and I don't know how much he'll truly be able to bounce back from just how bad he has been. On the season, he is putting up 15 points on 40, 36, 86 splits. He is playing the same amount of minutes he did when he was freshly returning from an Achilles tear. His shot selection is terrible, and I know his shot selection has never been amazing before this. However, now it's increasingly obvious he plays more selfishly than he ever has before. Seems like he's like, one way or the other, I'm gonna go for 20 and I don't care how many shots it takes or how much it interrupts the flow of the offense. It's just really, really ugly basketball from Klay Thompson on the offensive end of the floor. And then on defense, he's of course not the defender that he used to be, which was a big part of their defensive success before the 2022 title. So as a whole, the guy has just been a massive net negative for the Warriors. Andrew Wiggins has also been terrible, probably the worst year of his career. I would give him some leniency just because he's younger, probably not someone I would look to ship out as much as I would Clay or Draymond, but he has been hella suspect too. Another big problem for this Warriors team is their head coach, Steve Kerr. Steve is a coach that I've always had conflicting feelings on. I don't think he's as bad of a coach as a lot of Warriors fans seem to express, but I also don't think he's on like the Mount Rushmore of coaches like others would claim. His rotations are terrible. He made a ton of awful decisions in that Kings game that cost them the game. Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga are still not getting more than 20 minutes per game, which I think is just a fucking joke. Both of them are in their third season by now. Both of them have more than proven that they are capable of contributing in a variety of ways, and you just don't respect them in any capacity because they're not your original core. But newsflash, buddy, your original core is old as shit. So you can't just keep riding them hoping that this is going to work out because it clearly fucking isn't. Like, it's such a joke. Like, every other team in the league would be playing those guys 30 minutes a game. Almost every other team in the league. It's such a joke, man. It's truly pathetic. They keep rolling out these decrepit old bastards in the hope of capturing the glory of their early years, but that's just not going to happen. And I don't know what the move is to fix this. Maybe it's possible that this is just a ship that was inevitably going to sink, and all we can do is sit here and wait and watch it sink. But I don't know if it's as simple as that. Lord knows it would be sad to see Draymond and Clay not retire as Golden State Warriors. You want that storybook ending if you can get one, but you don't force a storybook ending. And right now, keeping these three together just for the sake of it, well, it's exactly that, forcing it. Stephen Curry is not slowing down. he's playing as good as he pretty much ever has. And I think that he can be very LeBron-like in that he will be fucking kick ass at the age of 38 and 39 and going into their 40s even. So while you have him, I think you owe it to him as a franchise, and I think you owe it to them, to your fan base, to actually put in at least a modicum of effort into putting a genuine contender around him. I think you still have, maybe 4 or 5 years left where you can genuinely get superstar championship first option production out of Stephen Curry. And I think it'd be really sad to just kind of punt the ball for the rest of his career. Right now, the Warriors feel like a really old band that's still going on tour, but their new music sucks and everyone just wants them to play the hits. And they go for the sake of nostalgia, but it's just not the same, and you ultimately leave feeling kind of sad, and everyone wishes it were different. Please either break up this band or figure it out some other way. Either way, it's depressing. So, yeah, that's it. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video, and goodbye.